Hey everyone, welcome back to Harry Potter Folklore. So something that really bugs me and that's also left without a real explanation is why Rubeus Hagrid was expelled so easily from Hogwarts without a trial and without real proof that it was his fault that Moaning Myrtle Warren died. Myrtle's death, it was ruled, occurred due to the negligence and careless nature of Hagrid for keeping an unsanctioned and dangerous creature in his chambers, a creature of which could kill if given the opportunity to do so. Hagrid was expelled, had his wand broken, and was forbidden to practice magic for the remainder of his life. This devastated the young half-giant, who was in fact the first of his family to ever attend Hogwarts, and was doing well, I might add. Never top of the class, but applied himself. He was very grateful to be in his position. So let's go back to the actual events surrounding Myrtle's death, how and why Hagrid was linked to her death, what Dumbledore did in order to try to prevent his expulsion, and finally, the one piece of evidence that shows Hagrid had nothing to do with any of it, which of course the Ministry overlooked. Sometimes I still forget that Hagrid and Tom Riddle went to Hogwarts together. At this point, Tom was going through his purge the school of all Muggleborns phase with the giant basilisk, while hoping never to be caught, while failing to realise that the death of a student will create an absolute stir in all parts. So Tom uses the basilisk stare to kill Myrtle in the bathroom, where she'd hide and cry over being teased by the other students. She was the perfect candidate for the Dark Lord, who also used her death to create a Horcrux. So Myrtle was found dead, nobody knew who the culprit was, and Hogwarts was now in danger of having to close due to the danger now imposed on the students. Riddle, who only found true peace on the school grounds, as he considered it his home, could not bear the thought of having to return to the orphanage, in addition to not knowing if he'd even ever be able to return to the school, as it will be closed indefinitely. I'd like to talk about today's sponsor, Surfshark. Surfshark offer you an incredibly powerful VPN to protect your internet privacy. In today's computer age, hackers are constantly trying to gain access to your bank account details, your social media passwords, and access to your personal information, amongst many other things. This can all be prevented when browsing under Surfshark's protection. Not only does it protect your privacy, it also offers you a lot more. Different countries have different viewing restrictions on what content can be viewed. Therefore, by logging into a VPN based in another country, you can gain access to that content that may be blocked in the country that you live in. For those of you who've always wanted to watch the full 8 Harry Potter movies on Netflix, but haven't been able to in your own country, you can simply select Turkey on your Surfshark VPN location and have full access to every single one of them. It's that simple. If you join Surfshark today, you'll get 83% off, 3 extra months for free. You'll also be able to use Surfshark on as many devices as you like. There's no limits. And finally, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. Basically, if you're not happy, if you're not satisfied, then your money will be returned. It's a no-brainer, guys. So sign up to Surfshark right now by clicking the link in the description below. He needed a culprit, as I said, a fall guy. It was time to play the blame game, and he quickly found the perfect scapegoat in Rubeus Hagrid. Now, Tom didn't know everything there was to know about Hagrid there and then. He'd have followed him, studied him, and only then would he have discovered a weakness to hopefully exploit. He hit the jackpot when he learned that Aragog, a baby acromantula, was in Hagrid's possession on the school grounds. Acromantulas are extremely dangerous, grow to a massive size, and are even known to eat humans along with other beasts of a similar size. Aragog, however, was just an infant and was being trained by Hagrid to obey. The arachnid still had rather an effective and poisonous venom in its fangs, meaning he was a threat if he chose to be. It's quite clear that Tom was prepared for his accusational encounter with the half-giant, as he knew the exact spell to repel the beast, Arana Exime, a spell that Harry actually took for himself when he viewed Riddle's memory and proved useful in escaping the acromantula attack with Ron. So Tom first-hand witnesses Aragog escape and alerts his superiors to the fact that everything points to Hagrid and Aragog as the reason for Myrtle Warren's death. Hagrid 100% completely and wholeheartedly denies any involvement and is shocked at these accusations, now becoming vastly serious. He soon realises he's in a lot of trouble for something that he didn't do. The Ministry, on the other hand, have been hammered by the public over Myrtle's death, demanding answers, demanding justice, and most importantly, demanding the capture of whomever was responsible. As always with this shambles of a government, they were the first to please the people and keep the peace, rather than actually do what was right and launch a full and detailed investigation with Hagrid's involvement and cooperation. Don't forget Tom Riddle, who wanted any threat to Hogwarts eradicated, would have been the most cooperative witness and been a massive help in convicting Hagrid of this crime. I can imagine him sitting there feigning pity for Hagrid, even asking for the officials to please not be too hard on him, that he didn't know what he was doing. The Ministry concluded that the evidence was too strong in order to open up a trial, but was that really the case? Was there traces of acromantula venom in Myrtle's body? No, there wasn't. Was there any bite marks of any kind on Myrtle's body? No, there wasn't. So why wasn't Myrtle's body thoroughly examined? Is there any way in extracting the memory of a creature to see its last involvement or last actions? I don't think so. The greyness and uncertainty of this case should have been enough to clear the young half-giant there and then, but still, he was convicted. I suppose it could be argued that a simple healing spell could be used to cover the bites, but it was my understanding that the person needed to be alive in order for a healing spell to work, as it required blood flow, living tissue, in order to encourage the skin to heal over. That's what I thought anyway. If you guys know different, then let me know in the comments section below. Even Dumbledore fought hard for Hagrid, arguing that the evidence was so weak and had many holes in it, but of course, the Ministry are not going to budge. They now had their man, the case was closed, the public were satisfied. Tom Riddle inadvertently exposed himself to Dumbledore as he received a special award for his contribution to the school after discovering Hagrid's apparent involvement. Dumbledore knew that Hagrid had nothing to do with the death of Myrtle. He also knew that Tom Riddle was no fool. He was smart, clever, witty, and could read an individual better than anyone, which means Dumbledore knew that Tom knew Hagrid was innocent. This in turn leads Dumbledore to concur that Tom had something to do with the murder. It put Dumbledore on alert with him. He kept an even closer eye on Tom going forward. I think Dumbledore warmed to Hagrid so much because of the fact he was the scapegoat, made out to be the keeper of the monster of Slytherin, even though he was a Gryffindor and a half-breed, the latter of which would have never been tolerated by the late Salazar Slytherin to be accepted into his house. Hagrid was expelled for life, and his reputation was also in ruins. He would always now be associated with the Chamber of Secrets being opened, the death of a student, and housing the monster of Slytherin, which we all know was complete and total rubbish. Hagrid didn't deserve what happened to him. I mean, he really didn't deserve it. Fortunately, he did rebuild his life and build many good relationships with wizards all across the country and even in different countries. However, he was never cleared or exonerated from the crimes he committed, and I'm using air quotes when I say the word crimes, guys. He was still convicted of what he apparently did. When the chamber was reopened during Harry's second year, poor Hagrid was immediately removed from the Hogwarts grounds without any real evidence once again and sent to Azkaban to remain there until the issue was resolved. He was left to rot in that awful prison, surrounded by Dementors for the best part of the school year, and when it was all said and done, when it was revealed that it was Voldemort who was behind the whole entire thing, oh well, that's okay, we can let him go now. It's just absolute madness. They also took their time acquitting him too, but eventually they did. So, what happened after that? Could Hagrid go back to school? Could he get a wand? Could he even practice magic again? Well, it's important to remember that Hagrid was already 65 years old and had spent 52 years as an assistant gamekeeper before moving on to take the role of full gamekeeper. That was the life he knew, so I doubt he could go back to studying and finish his 7 years at Hogwarts. If he had done so, he would probably be in the same class as Harry, which seems odd. I'm sure that might make him feel rather uneasy. I think he'd get support from Harry and the majority of the year, but then of course we'd have Malfoy and co. chiming in with their opinions, doing their best to put Hagrid down. I don't believe school would have been his choice, and as we can see, it wasn't. As for his wand, well, he has it, so I can't imagine how the Ministry could give it back to him. Or he could actually be considered dangerous with a real wand in his hands, even though he most likely wouldn't. Hagrid gained something positive and beneficial from his acquittal, as it allowed him to become the Care of Magical Creatures teacher at Hogwarts. Even if things didn't work out, now that he had the Ministry's apology, which he most certainly deserved, he was also free to pursue any career he wanted, as long as he could find an employer. So guys, that is today's video on why Hagrid was expelled without a trial, and why they didn't investigate into Myrtle's murder. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to look out for the very next video.